relative to your crimes, which are crazy how you got away with a lot of that, today, how do you see cyber criminals in their ability to get away with crimes versus back in those days?
Welcome to Miami Mutual Bank. How may I help you?
The big difference today is there are no con men anymore, because you will never see your victim and your victim will never see you. So in the old days, a con man, which stood for confidence man, was a person who dressed very well, spoke very well, had a lot of charm, and he was able to convince people to do things they probably wouldn't normally do.
My name is Frank Taylor. I'm a co-pilot for Pan Am. I'd like to cash this check here, and then I'd like to take you out for a steak dinner.
Today, all that's gone. The person you're speaking to on the phone or through that email is sitting in their pajamas with a cup of coffee in their kitchen. So they don't really have a lot of emotion involved. You know, even in the old days, even a bad con man would eventually say, okay, I'm not going to take all this guy's money because, you know, I don't want to leave the guy desolate. There was a little emotion involved. There was a face, a relationship.
And then we feed the checks into the Micker machine, which uses special ink to encode the account numbers on the bottom of the checks.
Now, these people never see you. They could care less. You're just someone on the other end of voice, on the other end of a phone or an email. They will take you for everything you have without any compassion whatsoever. And so that's where it's changed a lot. There is no emotion. It's very ruthless, and they're just out to get whatever they can get from you.
And where are these numbers?
They're, right here.
Right there?
See? They're called routing numbers.
And because of that, do you think that the number of criminals has increased?
Certainly, because it's so easy to do today. Technology has just made this so much easier, certainly made it global. We used to deal only with criminals within the confines of our own country. Now we deal with criminals all over the world.
So where do the checks get routed to?
I don't exactly know. Nobody ever asked me that before.
You know, today we prosecute like 1 in every 700 identity theft criminals. So even when you have a crime, the FBI does not investigate financial crimes under $100,000. If they do investigate it over $100,000, it's up to the U.S. attorney to prosecute. Most U.S. attorneys have a benchmark of $250,000. So criminals know a lot of times if I stay under these thresholds, the chances of me getting caught, 1, 2, prosecuted, 3, getting jail time for it, is pretty slim. So the risks have gone way down, the rewards have gone way up, and it's become a lot easier to do.
Our next item up for bid is also from the Jersey Central Bank foreclosure. This is a Micker encoder, a machine used to encode bank checks. Do I have an opening bid?
Our unknown subject is a paper hanger who started working on the East Coast. In the last few weeks, this unsub has developed a new form of check fraud, which I'm calling the float.
And just thinking, comparing that to back in your day, every time you walked in a bank with a fake check, you were an inch away from getting caught.
And look at the fact that I was a teenager who did this. So I went to prison in France. I served time in Swedish prisons. I was extradited back to the U.S., and a federal judge said I was a youthful offender because I had committed all the crimes on U.S. soil before I was 21, but still gave me 12 years in federal prison. I served 4 of those 12 years before I was ever released from that prison. And then we read today that people get out after 3 months, 6 months, 3 years in prison. It's just absurd that not only is it easier to do, but there's very little risk.
What he's doing is he's opening checking accounts at various banks and then changing the Micker Inc. routing numbers at the bottom of those checks. Next slide, please.
You can't rely on the government, the bank, to protect you, the police. You have to be a little smarter consumer today. Every scam, no matter how sophisticated or how amateur, there are 2 red flags. The first red flag is at some point I'm going to ask you to give me money, and the money has to be immediately. You have to give me a credit card right now on the phone, you have to give me a bank account number, You have to stay on the phone with me and go down to Walmart and buy a green dot card, and then when you get through the cashier, read me the number on the back. Everything is this moment, and the minute anyone's asking you for money and it's immediate, that's a big red flag. The other red flag is at some point in a conversation, I'm going to start asking you personal information. So I may call and say, I'm from your bank's fraud department. We detected fraud on your credit card. And I'll have a whole conversation with you, but then before it ends, I'll say to you, now, Mrs. Jones, just to make sure you actually have your card in your possession, can you turn it over and read the 3 digits to me on the back of the card? So I'm going to ask you for a social security number, a date of birth, personal information. You didn't solicit that call. You didn't solicit that email. You have no idea who's on the other end of that phone. You never want to part with any money or any information. Those are the 2 red flags, the most important red flags to remember. The recovery of funds is so rare that the only solution is prevention.